Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Zip, zip, hooray! The Zips projections are out on FanGraphs. How do the Cubs stack up in 2026? Plus, why the Cubs need to strike now after looking at a prospect list. We'll talk about it all. Roll with us next, CHGO Cubs.
Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Come on in, everybody. Hang out with us for the next hour. Joey Christopoulos, Luke Stuckmeyer, Sean Anderson on the ones and twos. And Luke, yes, a lot to talk about today from my zips to your ears. It's the Zips projection. This is your, isn't this your
my
sweet
bread
spot?
And butter. This is what I do.
This is
what I do. This is my bread and butter.
Crack it open. How are you doing today, Luke?
Good. It's funny. I used to work with another sports anchor that used to get mad if he didn't get enough highlights, and he'd be like, "This is my bread and butter. This is what I do." We would always laugh. It wasn't getting enough of the highlight reads. So please don't take all the Zips information from me today, because if anybody's a numbers guy, you're looking at him right here, Captain
Why
Numbers.
play the season?
Yeah, we're gonna try and decide what the bots and computers think of the Cubs, and then whether or not it actually means anything at all. And then there's another prospect list out there, and I got some thoughts on that prospect list. And of course, we want to start with, what day is this of the Don't Trade Nico Hoerner campaign?
Day 14, I believe.
I think it is day 14. That sounds about right. So we spent a good portion of the show yesterday with Justin Roman talking about Nico Hoerner and how is it possible all these smart people at MLB Network could leave Nico off the list as one of the top 100, not top 10, not 50, 60, 75. They don't even have him as a top 100 player in Major League Baseball right now. Okay, first of all, 6-WAR player, Gold Glove, was the most reliable player the Cubs had last year. But now there's a little correction, because they also asked the fans, hey, what do you think? And the people have spoken. I don't know if they were all Cubs fans or if they were just, reasonable human beings, which I didn't know were totally out there. But here we go. The fan vote, number 1 second baseman in Major League Baseball, fans say it's Ketel Marte. Fine, no problems. Number 2, Nico Hoerner. Nico freaking Hoerner, then Terang, Altuve, Clement, Chisholm, Albies. That's a more reasonable. If he's the number 2 second baseman in the game, first of all, we all agree that he is one of the top 100 players in the game. Then I saw Brian Kenny on with Cliff Floyd, who does a lot of Cub stuff, the former Cub, does a lot of stuff with Marquee. They were doing not only they were showing off the fan vote, but then they were also showing the shredder. I think that's their computer system. I'm not totally sure what the shredder is, but the shredder then had Marte, Jazz Chisholm, and Nico number 3. Now see, that seems more comfortable to me. That seems like a reasonable establishment for where Nico is in Major League Baseball. He's not a superstar, although then Kenny went on to say he's on the verge of being a star. And I was like, okay, so maybe Kenny didn't vote the same way everybody else at MLB Network? Who's the one that's anti-Cubs in there? Because, we said, did they just forget, Joey? Did they just forget Nico somehow?
See, I'm sensing tensions at the MLB Network office, because everyone seems to be on the left side or the right side on this, two sides of the room, and they're not talking to each other, because one day he's not a top 100 player, the next day he's one of the best, at his position. Look, of course it's January,
well,
right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
I love Cubs fans pretending like they're getting shot. Like, he could also, like, two things could be true. He could be outside of the top 100 and a top second baseman. Like,
Not
but
if
the second baseman position isn't really that valuable.
But not if there's five
I
other
think
second
you're still
basemen
going to make
ahead
it.
of
The
him.
top two at every
I gotta
position
find this
make the
list.
list. Right? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
look. So the part about the fan vote, just very quickly, is it is obvious. Like, when we talk about fan vote, clearly like popularity contest, right? It was cool to see Clement make the list. Oh yeah, that's right, because he just made the World Series. Okay,
Yeah.
and I will also say that as much as I love Nico Horner, you know, there is a strong possibility that Marcus Semien still has a really strong season left in him. You know, Jose Altuve is a pretty damn good baseball player. Like, so there's a lot of guys on that list that you go, okay, well, like, again, like yesterday, who's hot, who's not, who's up, who's down, who's trending, whatever. Like, for Nico Horner to become a star, in my opinion, for me, it has to go back to that old school mentality of probably batting average, right? Like, he'd have to be hitting maybe 325 in the first half, and he starts the All-Star game at second base over a guy like Ketel Marte. Then you're like, oh, wow, Nico Horner is suddenly a star. But I'm okay if that isn't the case, Luke. Like, he doesn't have to hit 325 for me to personally appreciate him as a player. The other part that I found interesting is there's a lot of rumor and innuendo out there that maybe Nico Horner's camp would be interested in a 5 for 90. And if you look at how the other second basemen are paid in the major leagues, that falls right in line with probably how I feel about Nico Horner, which is maybe a top 5 second baseman in baseball. I believe Jose Altuve makes more money than him. Ketel Marte definitely makes more money than him. Andres Jimenez, I think, on Toronto has a $100 million deal. I don't know what the AAV is, but I'm sure it's pretty close. Marcus Semien makes more money than him.
Oh, yeah, way more.
So there's guys that get paid a little bit more, and the 5 for 90 fits kind of right in that range of he's a damn good player. He might not be the best second baseman. He's definitely a top 100 player. It's like, how is he making it in all these lists? I mean, 5 for 90 feels pretty good to me.
I mean, 5 for 90 feels good because of the certainty that he brings. Like, Nico brings you certainty. You're not going to get, and you know, the Zips will show it too, you're not going to get 25 home runs. In fact, I don't know that I really want him to hit 25 home runs. I want him to do what he did last season. And if he can have like a 5-WAR season again, I would take that in a heartbeat. And I would take that for 5 more years too, right? Like, sure, it's going to go down a little bit, but he gives you some certainty at the position. And I always think a 5 for 90 or whatever the number might be for Nico, I feel like that's, if it got to the end of the deal and you had a prospect come up that was great at that position, and then you could move on from it and you could trade it and you'd still get great value back. I don't know that time is right now with Matt Shaw, right? You know, like, I think that's the decision that they're getting as they're taking calls about trying to restock the farm system. And they're at least listening because they know that that's a possibility that they won't re-sign him and they could lose him.
And the other part about Nico Horner that I think Cubs fans know that maybe the larger, maybe casual Major League Baseball fan doesn't know is that we do know that he is a very capable shortstop if he moved over to that position.
Right.
Which is also all of a sudden now maybe his numbers don't profile with some of the more elite shortstops in the league, especially from the power profile. But for a 5-year, $90 million deal as a shortstop, that's pretty good market value right there. And you look at some of the other guys that play shortstop, I don't think, let's just say Brandon Lowe on the Pirates can't switch over and play shortstop. Jose Altuve damn sure can't move over to shortstop. They play him mostly. They play him a little bit in left field now in Houston. Marcus Semien, the list goes on. So the versatility and that flexibility that in case something happens, break glass, Nico can play shortstop. Or during that 5-year deal, when Dansby's time is up at 2029, it's either 2029 or 2030 with his contract. Mm-hmm. You could, in theory, play Nico Horner at shortstop for 1 or 2 years during the course of that 5-year extension deal. So I think he brings a lot more to the table, too, as well, than necessarily just a second baseman, as some people, you know, obviously want to put him at because that's where he plays the most.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he can play shortstop and we know now because we've seen it, he can play it at a high level. That's part of the value in that deal. Not just that he's a steady player and that he does all the small things you need on a good team. he brings that flexibility that every team loves. So that value the Cubs have to think about too, because if he hits free agency, other teams will see that same value. Like, people are starting to notice Nico around baseball. A lot of former players talk about him, how he's one of their favorite players to watch, not because he's hitting 45 bombs, because he does all the little stuff that old school baseball players sit back and appreciate afterwards. Yes, they appreciate what Cal Raleigh's doing. Yes, they appreciate what Aaron Judge is doing. But there's a lot of former players out there that you'll hear talking about Nico Hoerner and say, man, that's a guy you want as one of your teammates. That's somebody you want on your team. And other teams will see that and say, he could be our shortstop. He could be our second baseman. He could be both. He could start as a shortstop. We could finish with him as a second baseman. Or we may have a shortstop and we just start him at second. Like, that's just the way it is. That's the versatility and flexibility. So I think Nico will have a market. It won't be crazy because of the lack of power, but I just think yesterday I was mad that he wasn't in the top 100 for him. I mean, I know it means nothing, but like, I was mad for him that he wasn't recognized as a top 100 player. Today, the fans have spoken and said, he's the number 2 second baseman. And then the shredder, is that what it is? Is that their computer, the shredder? Because I'm thinking, listen, why are we even looking at these stats?
Hold on.
It's
Luke,
fun to talk about. We should just do the Stucky stats or the Stucky stack.
you should just do Stucky stats.
Or can we just do the Chuggo list?
So
Because they
the
used to call it
shredder,
Chuggo.
you've brought this up a couple times. Nobody actually knows what or who the shredder is. This could be somebody that works behind the scenes. This could be an amalgamation of many top lists. This could also just be a way to rage bait people. I tend to lean on the latter half, that the shredder is not a real person and it's just a way to.
So it's a Banksy
bait.
He's an MLB Banksy.
That's giving a little bit too much credit.
Too much
because one's an artist.
Well, yeah, one's an artist.
One's like the equivalent to a pen name, but it's not like something brave, like a woman writing when men can only write novels, right? Like,
one provokes deep social introspective thought, and the other one just tries to get you mad by saying that your second baseman is 8th in baseball. Is
adds
that
to
the
swamp.
That's right. I mean, ESPN used to have the Schwab, Stump the Schwab, and he was the stats guy. You got Chris Kampka, the cruncher over at Marquee, doing stats. I think we just need to make up a name that we have our own computer system. Sean, you could use it for socks too. We could just, what do we call it? The Chug machine?
I like the Chuggo machine.
Yeah, I think we should sell it.
The Chuggonator?
Or how about the Chugginator? The Chugginator.
The Chugginator. There you go.
We'll just start throwing it out there. People start being like, well, yeah, but did you see what the Chugginator ranked it?
Yeah. And here's the thing is, like, one, I saw Chef Kevin Penner in the chat. Yes, Chef. What up, Chef? He said all this is meaningless. And
yes.
and look, I agree with him to a certain level. There's two things about this. One, I think lists and where we place our personal players and our own hometown biases, where they place in the grander scheme of Major League Baseball, I think can be fun to talk about. But also, I think what can be a little instructive, and especially when we get into the Zips projections a little bit, is when we keep saying that the Chicago Cubs are deep, or the Chicago Cubs have depth, or maybe they don't have a superstar on the team right now with a couple players that might ascend to that level, but they've got a lot of really solid players. Sometimes when you start seeing a lot of players land on a top 100 list, when you start seeing players ranked at a certain top 10, it kind of gives you the warm and feelies a little bit that when this team takes the field on opening day, they've got a great shot to win a ton of games, over 162, and they're going to put themselves in a position to hopefully be a dangerous component come October. The more players that you have that Major League Baseball acknowledges, the better off the Chicago Cubs are, right? If you have 12 guys that are in the top 100, you say, man, I think we got a pretty good shot this year. The same way that when you see 10 prospects in the top 10, you say, we've got a pretty strong farm system. So there is a meaningless quality to it, but it can also engender a little enthusiasm and confidence.
I agree. And, I just want to see respect. And if it's not going to be the shredder, which got it, whatever, the Chugginator has respected Nico Hoerner, and now the fans have respected Nico Hoerner. Only apparently some of the talent at MLB Network have something against Nico Horner. Is that true?
Screed.
Yes. So, Joey, when it's time, you take us to break because I know that we've got the Zips projections coming up, and I can't get enough of this stuff. I just cannot get enough of this.
Yeah. Speaking of opinions that can go up and down, let's get into those Zips projections on the other side of the break. But first, let's hear from some of our wonderful partners here on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hey, what if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep that same price for 5 years? That is the Xfinity 5-year guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, finds and fixes problems before you even know that you have them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi, a sixth sense, if you will. And it lets you stream the game while the rest of the family is still online somewhere else in the house. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years, but your Wi-Fi should stay reliable and the price can stay put. All right, lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. And of course, restrictions apply. I got this plan, baby, and it is gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need me to tell you that winter is here. You got 2 eyeballs. You got 5, 10 frozen fingers, 10 frozen digits on your feet. And you got to ask yourself the question, take care of yourself, but also take care of your home. Is your home's heating up for the challenge? If you got a plumbing emergency, you know what you got to do? You got to call Four Seasons. If you have an electrical emergency, you call Four Seasons. You need a new hot water tank installed today, you call Four Seasons, because now is the time to schedule your Four Seasons furnace tune-up. And if you need a whole home generator, they've got you covered, because at Four Seasons, they guarantee same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, and generator needs. No extra cost for nights, weekends, or holidays. Right now, you can save up to $4,000 on furnaces and comfort systems at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Furnaces at $39 a month. Furnace AC combos at $57 a month. So call today and save that $50 from your trusted local experts. Remember, visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. Remember, that's fourseasonheatingcooling.com, serving the community for the last 50 years. Coming back on the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Joey Christopoulos, Luke Stuckmeyer, Sean Anderson producing. Sorry, Barb. Larry is out today, or I might be Larry. Who really can tell? It's time, Luke. This is your bread and butter. This is where you soar. Right. This is where your wings, the cocoon of the caterpillar turns
Not yet.
into the butterfly.
I have one more thought, Joey. I have one more thought.
Please.
And I thought of it during the commercial break. And we have the Chugginator we're talking about with these lists, best players, top 100 players. In addition to the Chugginator, if we got Godfather to make us a list of 10, Godfather's list of losers, the 10 worst players in Major League Baseball. Nobody wants to be on that. The Godfather's list of losers, the 10 worst players at every position.
Vidal Brujan on that list. Vidal, I could just rattle off of the last 3 years. The Ryan Presleys, the Hector Neris's, the Vidal Brujans.
I know who his owner would be too. I don't even have to ask who Godfather's owner and GM would be for the list of losers. That's just we're gonna roll past that. Okay. Now, my bread and butter.
Yes.
The Zips projections. How long? First of all, I don't know how long they've been doing this because I've never been an analytics guy, but this is FanGraph's Zips projections. And before we get into what the computers and bots think, okay, there it is for the infield. We're only talking the offensive players right now. We're only talking about the position players. We're not going to hopefully do pitchers. We'll save that one for another show. But I do want to point out projections are just projections. Sometimes they're spot on when it comes to total wins for a season. When it comes to individual players, I believe Matthew Boyd, they had throwing 44 innings last year. Okay? So he was an all-star. So just remember, whatever you feel about this, good or bad, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen. They could be spot on about 2 of these guys. They could be totally off about the other 3. In general, how do you feel about what we're seeing on the screen? And for those of you listening in podcast form, you can check it out on our YouTube page, of course. Go back and watch the show. It's got HAP at 2.9 for F4, PCA at 4.9, SEA at 2.8. The second highest F4 on the team, Dansby Swanson, 4.1 at short. Nico at 3.9, so a big dip from this year. Bush, 3.5. Bregman, 3.7. Mo Baller in the DH position, 1.4. And Kelly and Amaya, the catchers, 2.7. Let's start with the two players that probably need the most attention. All right, Joey? Let's start with Bregman, first and foremost, the big acquisition to replace Kyle Tucker. I would say Zips doesn't think too much of his first season in a Cubs uniform. Computers don't like it.
So, yeah, you're right. Like, you can make these stats work for you however you want to, right? Like, we always go back to the Zips projection on Matthew Boyd last year. Mm-hmm. And I know we're talking about hitters, but they projected him to win maybe 4 games and pitch only 40 innings. I think a lot of that had to do with maybe they were unclear of what his role was going to be, also the health factor of the player. Sure. So you can make this however you want. Like, for me, it's sort of, I look at these and I ask myself, you know, just as a fan or what I think the Cubs need this year, am I okay with this number? This number either surprises me or this number makes me mad. When it comes to Alex Bregman, Luke, the numbers make me mad. They really do. They make me really mad. As of right now, Bregman projected to slash 240, 336 on base, 403 slug with a 114 OPS plus, projected to hit 18 home runs and 70 RBIs. I'm not going to read all the stats. I'm just going to stop there at that. Each of those numbers would either be career lows or at the very least beneath the expectation that I think all Cubs fans have right now for Alex Bregman. If you pull up at least the OPS, right now he's projected to be somewhere in the 730s, 740s. If you look throughout his career numbers, that would be a career low by a good margin. I was having this conversation with Sean yesterday. Sean's really, really good at this stuff. He said you have to kind of take into account a little bit that that Zips is taking into account that he's changing ballpark to Wrigley Field. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to always give you the benefit of the doubt as you age into your career. But at 240 and a 403 slug, Luke, for the prize piece, for the free agent acquisition of the winter, for a guy who, again, 3.7 WAR is going to be a leader and a dude who's put up big numbers in the past that I'm not expecting this year. Those numbers were wildly underneath my expectation. What about you?
Well, I mean, if you're paying him the contract you did and he's supposed to replace what you expected out of Kyle Tucker last year, which, again, the first half was one of the best players in baseball, and then the rest wasn't with injuries. Yeah, I mean, the home runs aren't that far off from what Matt Shaw's giving you. And we knew that when you were getting him. He's not necessarily going to be a 25 home run guy. He's going to be lower on that list. But in general, I think Zips was pretty down on the Cubs' power compared to what they put out last year. They don't think that's going to repeat, that everybody's going to hit the amount of home runs they hit last year. And yeah, I'm disappointed in it. So what you were mentioning the reasons. Is it just aging? I see Chef Kevin with some Toyota Super Chats in there saying he's aging. He's 32. And so, you know.
He's 32.
First of all, we're all aging. But
it's true. Game Day Men's Health. Shout out.
Game Day Men's Health will help you with that. But when you look at the list, I guess that's true, and you would say he's aging. At 32, have we seen Alex Bregman's best season? Yes, most likely. We have. But is the big fall off coming now? Because we've seen Ian Happ do these steady seasons where it's just the same. Are we going to get at least that from Alex Bregman? I know we've talked about the intangibles, but you certainly don't want what Zips is saying, and that is, okay, the guy's aging, and you just signed a guy for multiple years and no trade clauses, and you're not going to get what you hoped for. Zips isn't buying that signing too much. At least it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, and I'm just going to scream at the computer on this one, to be honest with you. Yeah, no, it's fair. He's not going to be the guy who hits 40 bombs like he did in 2019. That was never my expectation for Alex Bregman. And the power numbers, I can wrap my head around. If he's in the ballpark of 18, I would even say upwards of 22 home runs, that would not surprise me. But what would really surprise me is if you look at his barrel rate, his contact percentage, the way that he controls the zone. He had a down year, I believe it was 2 years, but he had a great rebound year last year in terms of on-base percentage, in terms of his walk and strikeout ratio. A 336 on-base percentage would surprise me from Alex Bregman because typically he's a guy who's 360, 370, okay? If it's a low fours slugging, I wouldn't be shocked. But again, the 240 batting average also would greatly surprise me because I'm personally anticipating a guy that's probably going to be in the 270 to 290 range, the guy that can control the zone, hit the ball, get on base. Maybe they're more singles than we would like. And I think what we were also talking about yesterday was that I think one of the varying levels that maybe Zips doesn't know how to project yet is how are his doubles going to play moving from Fenway Park to a place like Wrigley Field. But again, I'm just banking on Alex Bregman, and I get it, 32 years old. Okay, like, let's just all calm down here, okay? He's got plenty of time that I think he can still live in the zone and environment and area of his prime for at least this year, next year. I'm personally thinking I'm predicting a big season for Alex Bregman. He's going to be hitting in the middle of the lineup. I have a good feeling that there's going to be runners on base, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities to drive in runs. Again, the power numbers, I can wrap my head around it, maybe being in the low 20s. But no, I anticipate more than 70 RBIs, and I think that average and on-base percentage is going to be where more in line with his career numbers at age 32 in a new spot from before. And I think of all the years in a 5-year deal of Alex Bregman to look the most like Alex Bregman, I think it's going to be this year. So that's the first one that I'm kind of like, I'm not buying.
What about the idea with the overall, when you look at the FanGraph Zips listing for you take up that map again and you say, all right, PCA will be number one in F4, then it'll be Dansby, and then you'll have Nico, and then Bregman. That Bregman will be fourth on your list for F4 by the end of the season. Does that, and ahead of Bush, but a lower F4 than even Dansby Swanson, and fourth overall on the team. We kind of said if I had to say who's going to have the best season on the Cubs this year, we just said this week, who's going to be the Cubs' best player this year? We had the argument, well, PCA has the highest ceiling, but the safer pick would be that Alex Bregman would continue to do what Alex Bregman does. And so I think if I had to lay money on it, I would say Alex Bregman. But in this case, the computers are saying, no. PCA, even though when you look at PCA, a lot of his numbers are down too.
Right. And I'm making a generalization here when you're asking strictly about PCA and Swanson. When it comes to Swanson, I feel like that they are, even though his defense kind of like took a slight downturn last year, I think they're still, I think that Zips rewards consistency. I also think I think they reward ascendance of a young player. So when you look at Pete Crow-Armstrong, his numbers, I'm like, oh, I can get into this. His numbers are a 250 slash line, 304 on base. That's still not great, but a little bit better than last year. 461 slug, 25 home runs, 91 RBIs, 32 stolen bases. Now, I don't know if that's the leap that maybe we've talked about on this show, but that's a pretty good step in the direction of this is becoming more of the guy that we think that he's going to be throughout his career, right? I think there are questions, and they're fair with Pete Crow-Armstrong of, is he the first 81 guy? Is he the second 81 guy? And is there somewhere in the middle that levels off into a version of consistency that then turns into a really impressive and exciting career moving forward? Zip seems to lean towards he does take a small step forward, if not a giant leap next year, Luke.
And I don't know if I'd even yes and no, right? Like, I guess it depends on what you want out of PCA. Do we want more consistency, or do we want more superstar? And by that, I mean, there was a point in last season where we thought this guy could go 40-40, and he ended up being 30-30. And this year, Zips is saying, nah, he's not going to be a 30-30 guy. He's only going to get to 25 home runs. Personally, I'd be willing to sacrifice some of those home runs for more consistency throughout the season. Give me 5 less homers and just a dash of Ian Happ in his game. I know that's going to drive people crazy. I'm not trying to cut him off at his knees. I'm just saying slightly more consistency, less first half, second half, and just season, right? There's going to be peaks and valleys, but you'd like him to not go through months of, wow, that was not a competitive at bat, right? Like if he can eliminate those, the home runs might not be there. But then again, I didn't know that this many home runs was going to be capable out of Pete Crow-Armstrong anyways. I think he kind of fell in love with the first half home runs, and it led to the second half. Personally, I think some of that was involved. Like he was like, whoa, I do have power. But if in the offseason he can say, I can still be a great player, I need to focus on this, not getting back to necessarily the power. And if the power happens, that's gravy. That's gravy. Yeah. I'd rather have the more consistent player with a spectacular defense than I would a guy who hits 30.
Yeah, let's take this one into the break and jump in the chat, everybody, if you want to. Also, make sure that you hit the like button, please. You know, to Luke's point, would you rather have Pete Crow-Armstrong go 30 for 30 again, but still have some of that swing and miss, a little more of that boom and bust? Or if Pete Crow-Armstrong only hits 20 home runs, but his on-base percentage gets up to 34%, which would be a huge improvement per last year, you know, how are you taking your PCA and how would you like to have it? But jump in the chat. We're going to take a quick break here on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. We'll be back in 2 minutes, but first some words from our wonderful partners.
Hey, as a man, are you starting to feel like you've got low energy throughout the day? You don't have the same motivation and drive. You're seeing the scale go up and the hair go out, muscles tightening up a little bit. Yeah. Me too. That might all be the result of low testosterone. It's very common as you age, whether it's peak performance or becoming a better father, better husband, better man. Game Day Men's Health wants you to support every man's health journey through personalized care tailored to your goals. All right, very easy, quick process. You can be in and out in an hour. Personal care, family, locally owned clinics, extremely high success rate. Feel better, have more energy, with testosterone, vitamin supplements, weight loss, and hair loss treatments. I don't know if you've seen this. This is unbelievable. They've got a customer, Josh, who lost over 100 pounds in a little over a year using their testosterone replacement therapy. Complete transformation. Check out their locations in Skokie, Naperville, Libertyville, and more. Scan the QR code to find out where the closest one is next to you. Game Day Men's Health.
Hey, everybody, it's still January. Can you believe it? And ask yourself the question, with those New Year's resolutions, have you met your goals so far in 2026? I know that I struggle all the time trying to find that high protein that I need to support every single day with my busy day. And I need something for convenience and get some habit building. Well, what better than some Huel chocolate and chocolate peanut butter? That's right. I have chaotic mornings. I sometimes skip meals because I'm working so hard. I'm trying to cram in a workout. I'm trying to eat better. Well, all of those problems can be solved with Huel right here. Imagine this. It's basically $5 in a meal right there. You can have 35 grams of protein. They got 27 essential vitamins and minerals. It's gluten-free. And oh, that's right. It's under $5 per meal. It's the complete meal that you can literally grab and go. So for just under $5, it's way faster than any kind of meal prep, and it can fill you up for hours so you can get on with your day. So head on over and pick up some Huel right now. You can get 15% off online with the code CUBS15. That's Cubs 15. Try Huel today and Huel up. Back to the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Joey Christopoulos, Luke Stuckmeyer, chilling in his cozy home. Sean Anderson producing on the other side of the break. We're talking a little PCA with his Zips projections. Yeah. Zips projections, again, just to reiterate, 25 home runs. You like to see that power, especially Cubs fans. 91 RBIs, that would lead the team in RBIs, and also lead the team in stolen bases with 32. OPS plus of 118. But that 304 on base percentage, Luke, like I think that's the piece of the puzzle to me. That I understand when Pete Crow-Armstrong goes deep, it's cool. And trust me, it's great for our Twitter and all that stuff. But if you had Pete Crow-Armstrong on base at a 33, 34% clip, and I'm not getting greedy here, think of the havoc that he can cause on the base paths and how that can also lead into all these different areas and help out other teammates in the lineup. It might not happen this year, but personally, I'm hoping more for that than I am hoping that he hits 30 bombs again.
Well, what makes PCA the perfect player for the Cubs? And the answer is not 30 home runs. The answer is him being on base more, him hitting 25 home runs, but not him hitting 35. Like, yes, him hitting 35 home runs might put him in an MVP conversation. But the best thing for the Cubs most likely would be get on base more, create that havoc, play the best center field of anybody in Major League Baseball, and still hit a nice amount of home runs. Give me that complete player. I'd rather see the home run projections come in higher for other players than I would necessarily for Pete Crow-Armstrong. Not because I don't believe he can do both. I do think he can do both, but I just don't know that it has to be this season. I would like to see this season be about taking just a little bit of his energy, which we love, and focusing that into some of the smaller things in baseball, right? The getting on base a little bit more. Then maybe his stolen bases go up even more than his home run. I'd rather have his stolen bases go up than his home runs go up a couple, because it means he's most likely on base a little bit more. That said, I didn't love the idea of him saying he wanted to bunt his way onto base like twice a week. I thought it was too much. I just want to see him be able to somehow figure out the strike zone and then stick to it where he can do his damage more than I can hit that ball because I'm that athletic and good things are going to happen, right? Like, we have to admit that some of his great first half was swinging at stuff that no human should swing at.
Yeah.
But he's so talented that he did it, and he turned some of them into home runs. I don't need to see a ton of those home runs. I don't.
Yeah, and I appreciate when Pete says something like, I want to bunt my way on base twice a week, because there were moments last year in the second half, because it happened so rarely, that when Pete would hit the ball over to third base, not only was the third baseman like, oh my God, the ball's coming towards me, but Pete was able to get on base because he's got incredible speed. So I understand that, but at the same time also, the old adage of try and use the whole field. You don't have to pull everything all the time. Try and be that complete player. Work the middle of the field a little bit. That can help you out too as well. I got one for you, Luke. I'm going to give you two young players. I'm going to give you their ZiPS projections, and there doesn't have to be a wrong answer because both are projected to have productive seasons. But I want to ask you, which one, if they hit this stat line, is the best news for the Cubs in 2026? They have right now the slash line for Moises Ballesteros at 262, 324 with a slugging percentage of 392, 14 home runs, 72 RBIs. They also have Matt Shaw hitting 245 with a 321 on base, a 409 slug, 16 home runs, and 65 RBIs. So the numbers are fairly close, but if you got that stat line from one of those players, which one would be, that means good news for the Chicago Cubs?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it depends on if Matt Shaw's on the Cubs, or it depends on if Nico Hoerner is on the Cubs, right? Like, those are the first two qualifiers of that conversation. Would I rather see that ZiP projection prove true for Matt Shaw as a super utility guy, or would I rather see Mo Baller's first full season as basically a DH and some backup stuff? I actually think the Matt Shaw thing would be better.
Okay.
And that's just a quick gut reaction. I haven't really thought it out. 14 home runs for your DH isn't that big of a deal. And if Mo Baller's going to be my DH, I want him hitting up near 300, and I want him hitting like at least 20 home runs. That's the truth. Now, if I'm getting that out of my utility guy, it's probably more valuable to a team because you could add a slugger or move guys around at the trade deadline and probably get better production than that at DH. In fact, you'd get better production than that from just moving Seiya to DH and putting somebody in the outfield. So I would think your utility guy doing that would be more valuable than your DH doing it. So it's not necessarily like I believe in Shaw more or his future than I do Ballesteros. I'm just saying if those numbers prove to be true, it might be more valuable for your utility guy than it would be a DH.
Let's do a quick Toyota super chat with Becky. What's up, Becky? Who says, if they trade Nico in all capital letters, we riot. Okay. All right.
That's right. Day 14. Day 14. Don't trade Nico.
Day 14. And yeah, we got people that are strong supporters here in the campaign. Appreciate you, Becky. So I love what you said. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer here, but I want to provide a little counter for you where I will say that if Moises Ballesteros, I think there's more questions about Moises Ballesteros out of the simple concept that he hasn't played a ton. We saw a lot of Matt Shaw last year, Gold Glove finalist, had a strong second half. We saw a little bit of Moises Ballesteros, and when he was in the lineup, they would let him hit in the 3, 4, 5, and he came up with some big hits, and everything looked like he was checking the box. I will counter by saying that if Moises Ballesteros drives in 70-plus runs from the DH position, at the very least, we can say that the opportunity that we gave him checked out. And, of course, there'd be an opportunity to upgrade from that position. But if Matt Shaw were to not hit these markers, or if he still hit 220, 230 like he did last year and go through some slumps and still provided great defense at a bunch of different areas of the field, I'm okay with that. Where Moises has to hit, right? Moises has to hit for average. I don't know how much he's going to hit for slug, but he's going to have to hit for average, right? Because he's a young hitter. I don't know if he's actually going to have the OBP and the slug to be able to make himself a plus player in this league. So if he's driving in runs, hitting the ball solid, and providing that, I think that's really good news for the Cubs, where if Matt Shaw's offensive development is still stalled at times, he has a known quality that we know, which is his defense that will be able to be played across the field. But I think both of these Zips projects both of these players to take a step forward this year, and that's good news.
Absolutely it is. But it could be wrong. So we don't, we hope the computer's right in this particular case. Like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, I don't disagree with that. I was just I'm actually hoping for Mo Baller to exceed projections. If you let me be Jed Hoyer for a second, I'm hoping Mo Baller's going to exceed projections, and I'm okay with Matt Shaw meeting those projections, especially as the utility guy. Okay. If you told me Mo Baller's going to hit 22 home runs and he's going to bat 10 points higher in batting average, then I look at it and say, that's pretty good first season for a young man. And I can start to add on to that and see that, even though he doesn't necessarily have a position, he could be a real difference maker for you in your lineup, especially at DH. Right now, I would say more teams have, if you take those two numbers, you look at it and you say, all right, well, a lot of teams are getting that out of DH, aren't they? I don't think too many teams are getting that out of their utility infielder / outfielder.
Yeah.
And so then the question becomes, all right, take Matt Shaw's projections, and now in the case of Doomsday, and we're all angry, they trade Nico Hoerner. Now put those same numbers in at second base and say to me, which one is better for the Cubs? Matt Shaw putting up those numbers at second because Nico's been traded. We don't want that, but I'm just saying if it were to happen, is Matt Shaw more valuable putting up those numbers at second because Nico's been traded, or Mo Baller at DH? And I don't know.
Yeah, you play that out, right? You play that out, and obviously there's production on a sheet of paper. Some of that will definitely come down to eye test, right? This is where the Zips projection stuff is a fun marker to maybe get an idea of what an analytic computer thinks is going to be the production of a certain player throughout the year. But again, we know it can be wildly wrong in the positive or the negative. Because, yeah, as it stands here right now, Matt Shaw is about to have as good of an offensive season as Alex Bregman. I mean, that's where the Zips projection is landing at. I don't think that's going to be accurate by the end of the year, but I think it's also fair to maybe make a compelling case that maybe Matt Shaw's numbers will look a little bit like that. Maybe Alex Bregman's numbers will look a little bit better than that. Like, it can go in all these different directions. The one that I also wanted to ask you was, which one do you think is the least likely to happen? Because I got one for you. The least likely, or at least the one that made me kind of sit back in my seat and said, wow, if we got that, holy cow. Right. Tyler Austin. Zips loves Tyler Austin coming back over to the major leagues. Slash line of 245, 328 on base percentage, 459 slug. Obviously not going to be an everyday player, but they project him, and they believe he's going to hit 14 home runs and 49 RBIs. If we got that out of the Justin Turner spot, which, again, him playing would either have to do with an injury, which I certainly hope doesn't happen, or if Craig Counsell has just been placating us or pandering to us off season by saying, I'm gonna let Michael Busch hit against lefties, and then when the season comes around, Tyler Austin's in there a ton. That one really surprised me. But I think they maybe look at those on a case-by-case basis. Was there another one that you thought that surprised you, or you felt was a little on the unlikely side?
I just was surprised there wasn't somebody that they were just a little more excited about. Some of these are, I'm not saying these are bad Zips projections, and I totally understand why all of them are there. It's just the overall power that bothers me a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Like team power. All right. When you go back and you look at it just as an offense, is 22 out of half reasonable? Yes. PCA 25, 26 Seiya, 18, 19, 28 Bush. Yes, but nobody's jumping over that number. We have no 30 home run hitter again, which takes me back to, oh man, can we please have a 30 home run hitter? And then we finally did it. But will that be enough power for the Cubs to get it done? I'm not disagreeing with the computer, but it's why you looked at it and said, listen, if you lose Tucker and what his projections were, the first half, is that enough? And so I don't know if it made me surprised, but it made me a little disappointed. I was hoping that the computer would say, you know what? PCA is going to hit 30 this year. Or you know what? Seiya's going to 38 this year. And Zips doesn't see it. So I'm hoping somebody on this list, somewhere on this map of FanGraphs, Zips projections, I'm hoping somebody can give us the Matthew Boyd. Right. I'm hoping you know what? Yeah. That's what I'm hoping, that one of these position players is going to give us the old Matthew Boyd special, where they're thinking 44 innings and he's like, hold my beer. That's what the Cubs need. And yes, I realize that's my dorky way of saying, like Jed, hopefully somebody exceeds projections.
Well, that's the thing though. If you want to drink the Kool-Aid, one of these guys definitely needs to emerge, exceed this projection, and put together a huge season. One of the unlikely parts of the lineup that I looked at that I found that I don't think is going to happen, and this is a Kyle Tucker thing, is as of right now, if I'm seeing this correctly, they don't have any regular day player with an on-base percentage over 35%. Right. And that was Kyle Tucker's bread and butter, right? When Kyle Tucker's going and rolling, he's in the 37 to 39% area. And when you're hitting in the 2-hole, that's a lot of traffic. And there's a reason why Seiya Suzuki got up to 100 RBIs last year.
Right.
Is because of that element in the beginning of your lineup. One of these players needs to be in that general area, right? And I'm actually I believe that Alex Bregman can be a 36 to 37% on-base player next year. That's what I'm banking on. The other guy that I'm just sitting here, I'm saying I think that he's going to exceed this projection. And it's fair because he had a white hot last week and a half, right? Like he jacked his WRC plus up by over 10. It's Michael Busch. I'm just buying a lot of stock in Michael Busch this year. I really am. I think it is his time for him to ascend and maybe become a cornerstone piece in this offensive lineup. I think out of anyone in this lineup, I think him and Seiya, but I would say Busch is maybe the most likely to get to that 30 home run mark. I think depending on where they put him in the lineup, whether it is leadoff or maybe he is ready to hit right behind Alex Bregman in the 3 or 4 hole, I think he's also a guy that could be a candidate for 90 to 100 runs batted in. And I also think they have him projected at the 345 on base. I'm willing to say he might be able to go a little bit above that. So when you say exceed projections, I'm looking at a guy like Michael Busch. Like all the components are there for him to have a huge season and maybe be that guy that sort of leaps above what Zips is thinking for this Cubs lineup right now.
Well, I can definitely see more power. You know, I'm asking for someone to make that list and get up there over 30 home runs. I could also see him where, I don't know, is he 5th or 6th, I think, in on the team in FWAR by the end of the season. And a lot of that sometimes happens with health, but I could see him easily being in the top 3. I could see him being number 1. Yeah. I can see him anywhere in that range. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. We'll hit even more on the zip stuff tomorrow, and we're going to be eventually looking into the pitchers and their zips and all that stuff. But I do want to dip into this prospect thing real quick. Game Day Men's Health prospect, better father, better husband, better man. Go to Game Day Men's Health. Visit CHGO.com to find the locations closest to you. This is our Game Day Men's Health deep dive on prospects. So we're going to take the final few minutes on the podcast here, and I just want to go over ESPN's latest prospect list, okay? And I think we'll probably go into this again tomorrow too, but I just wanted to give you a taste of why I say the Cubs absolutely have to strike now. Now. Because this, listen, I wanted it last year for you guys to be the kings of the division. And you had it, and you let it slip away, and the Brewers did it to you again. They have traded away Freddie Peralta. They still won the division very handily last year. You cut the lead, but they still won it handily. Cannot happen again because I got to tell you, the rest of the division is coming. The prospects lists, if you believe them, they're coming. The Cubs have only 2 guys in the top 100 now because a lot of guys have graduated. I get that. But when you look at the strength of some of these other teams, and remember, the Brewers are still ahead of the Cubs, and then you look at this list and you say they have 8 prospects in the top 100. 8 guys. They have 8 of them. They have 4 shortstops in the top 70, 3 in the top 32. That's a super valuable asset. And they have the number 3 overall prospect overall. Like, yeah, that's terrifying. And then you see the Pirates have the number 1 prospect, and the way they list it is it's not even close.
Connor Griffin, yeah.
Connor Griffin. And it's like, when you put in who has the most in the division, the Cubs have 2 top 100, the Reds have 3, but higher rated. And then you start to evaluate, and then the Cardinals have 5, and the Brewers have this massive list. And then here's the part that really got me. There are 10 prospects in the Cubs division right now. Still, even after last year, those prospects are ranked ahead of Mo Baller. There are 5 pitching prospects in the division right now ahead of Jackson Wiggins, a guy that both guys we look at as almost untradeable. There are 15 prospects in the division currently, right now, rated ahead of Owen Casey, who you really had to think about, should we trade him? 15 prospects in our division are ranked 77. Higher than Owen Casey.
Yeah, they had him at 77, I believe.
77. You better win now. You better win now. Mo Baller's our highest guy at 51. We have nobody in the top 50.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I'm not saying that means everything, because I will remind you that today is the day 44 years ago that the Cubs traded for Ryne Sandberg. Can all turn out your way. Things can happen. You can get a Michael Busch in a trade. You can get a Ryne Sandberg in a trade. You can get a Jake Arrieta in a trade. But the way to build your franchise eventually is great drafting. And right now, sure looks like the Brewers keep doing that. And I know a couple of those guys are from the Peralta trade, but their prospects are coming.
Yeah, they had Jet Williams. What do they have, Jet? They had Jet Williams at 32, and then Sprout was at 73. Yeah, look, I mean, like, this isn't a negative comment. It's just real talk. Like, the Cubs are a little stuck. And where they are stuck is that they have a veteran-laden team that won 92 games and won a playoff round last year. They have graduated at some key positions, mind you. Center field, starting pitcher. Hopefully, we'll see maybe DH, maybe in a utility role. They've graduated some players that have added a little more youth into this team. Michael Busch was a great trade. I still consider him a young player. But when you look at their prospect system, and you look then at how many veterans are in walk years this year, the time is now for the Chicago Cubs. They're not getting out of this unless they're spending money, right? The prospect system right now is not as healthy as the other divisions. It's just the fact of it. And to your point, some of these little cousins in our division, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, maybe might be able to make some noise in the next couple of years. And also, judging by that list, it doesn't look like the Milwaukee Brewers are going anywhere anytime soon. The Cardinals are punting on the season. They're probably going to be easy to beat around for at least the next couple of years, but they're going to try and replenish too as well. The time is now for the Chicago Cubs to be all in. So I'm sorry. Yes, I still want Zach Gallen on this team, right? Like, we've been saying it all winter. Like, this is the moment that you can really capitalize from a Cubs perspective in the next 2 years, or maybe even 3, and really go for this thing. And if you got a World Series title, or even if you go to a World Series and win a pennant, damn it, it's worth it, right? My other one just really quickly was, for everybody out there, we just see it in the chat all the time. I just get a lot of flack about, like, why am I not mentioning Jackson Wiggins enough? What about Jackson Wiggins? We got to make room for Jackson Wiggins. He's 83rd on that list. And again, I'm just going to stick firm on it. Like, he's got to earn it. He's got to earn a spot on this major league team. Kylie McDaniel in that article said that there's questions about his command. We know that, but also said, could he be a multi-inning reliever? He isn't necessarily worked himself into a starter's mold yet. He is living and walking the path of a prospect like thousands before have with him. So I get everybody gets excited about Jackson Wiggins. What about Jackson? Wait till Jackson Wiggins. It's like, no, Jackson Wiggins has some steps and a bridge he needs to cross, and he needs to earn it on this team. All right. That he's not a slam dunk guy that's gonna, come in and save the day for the Cubs this year. And I hope Cubs fans aren't banking on that necessarily. He should be a surprise, not an expectation.
And we get it. Cade Horton has graduated. PCA has graduated. Like, the Cubs' top prospects mostly have graduated, but they haven't taken over the division in that time that we were restocking the farm system. They weren't making enough progress moving up fast enough. So now here we are, and we're still behind the Brewers until we see the games played. And their prospect farm system is clearly higher rated than the Cubs farm system right now. It might not play out that way. And maybe Cade Horton turns out to be so good you don't care about any of this. And maybe I'm just pointing out that sometimes you can't fall in love with a prospect so long. You got to go get major leaguers too. And that's why I'm in on the Zach Gallen thing too. I'd rather spend the money than just believe in the prospects, right?
Yeah.
And so go get another known quantity, even though he might not be the guy he used to be.
The Brewers with all those shortstops, though, really quick, is hilarious.
Well, clearly they're going to trade one. Eventually, they will trade one when they feel like it's time. They got four shortstops, I think, in the top 100. Everybody in the division has a shortstop, like in the top 50, except for the Cubs.
Yes, correct. And maybe Ethan Conrad's going to be a guy who's going to be on that list next year for the Cubs. You know what I mean? And, Jefferson Rojas. There's other guys. Brandon Birdsell comes back healthy. There's other guys in the prospect pipeline that can make their way up. But yeah, it's just all credit to the Brewers. Yeah, they're going to run out 9 guys that are all 5'7" and shorter, and it's going to be annoying as hell. And we're just going to have to deal with it. Luke, we got to get out of here, man. Great to see you. You will be in office tomorrow. We have a special guest tomorrow, so do not miss it for our A block. Special guest coming in from the wonderful Cubs ecosystem and community. Producer Sean Anderson, thank you so much. Joey Christopoulos, Luke Stuckmeyer. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at CHGO_Cubs. Today's episode presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Remember, fly the W. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
We all silly like the mayor.